Hello, good afternoon from Conscious Connections. I am R. Andell, and if this is your first time here, which I'm pretty positive it is because it's my first time here, I just want to say welcome and I appreciate your time. I love information. I am always absorbing information, whether it's new, old, contemporary. I love information. That's my son, Zada, that you're hearing. And I believe that life is school. Life is school. I don't think that school necessarily is a classroom setting. I don't think that we have to be confined to a certain structure in order to be educated. That being said, I actually dropped out of school when I was 17, actually 16, but I turned 17 and then I left to join the military. I was in the military for 3.5, almost 4 years, and then I voluntarily released. The military was not for me. I loved it, but not without getting too off track. I dropped out of school and I left to join the military. And when I got out of the military, it was kind of like, what is education? What is learning? Am I going to stay this same person who just this high school dropout? I've never been good at school, really, at all. I've always been popular at school in the sense of, I used to live in places where there wasn't a lot of black people, and I guess I don't want to say popular in a positive way. Sometimes it was because I was just the only black person in the school, maybe even in the whole town. And then, of course, just through moving around a lot in my life, I have developed this kind of class clown personality where I had to make friends quick or not make any friends at all. And I'm the personality type where I like meeting people and I'm extroverted, I guess some could say. But I didn't even get to go to my elementary school graduation. And that's a story for another time. The only graduation I remember is when I was in kindergarten, going to grade 1. In grade 1, there was a ceremony for passing grade 1. And those are the only graduations I really ever remember going to. I don't think that I fit the mold of what a classical good student looks like. Although I would say that I probably enjoy learning more than your average student. Autodidactic means I like to learn on my own. I really discovered this when I got out of the military because 17 to 20, when I was still in my hometown I was in the military in my hometown, but not having to go to school. So I feel like I kind of just burned out extra hardcore. But for those 3-4 years, they're pretty much just a blur of drinking and thinking that it's important to impress people and whatever your social status is, if you're cool or not. I went through 3 cars in that time. I was really reckless in that time of my life, and it actually drove me to become suicidal. And I attempted twice to take my life, although I can tell you firmly they were cries for attention. That's only in hindsight that I'm really able to say that with confidence, because I can see it. And that's because I didn't fit this regular mold that was being fed to me. I was being told that I need to be a certain way. I thought it was all about, girlfriends and chicks, partying. For me and my personality, like, you would have considered me having ADHD because I didn't enjoy sitting in a classroom setting to learn about things that I may have even been interested in if it wasn't being forced upon me. And I'm not saying that there's not times in your life where maybe you do need to have some education forced upon you in order to make some kind of direction, because there are people out there who don't have any motivation or discipline to do anything on their own. They very well just become blobs, and we wouldn't be able to tell the difference between them and an end table. I didn't want to be judged by me being a fish and being tested on my climbing skills, climbing a tree. I want to be a fish being tested in my environment, in the water. I'm a Pisces. Learning. I have an Audible account. I love reading too. I read all the time. Specifically with the audiobooks, what I love so much, well, because just by listening to this information and being in my environment, in the water, right, not literally, but I get to handle my dogs. I do dog training, so while I'm doing dog training on an individual level, I can be listening to information while I'm going somewhere, driving somewhere, while I'm walking somewhere, while I'm taking care of my son. I can be learning. It's called Building a Better Vocabulary. It's by Professor Kevin Flanigan of Westchester University of Pennsylvania. I'm talking about this person, Procrustean, and I'm just gonna let the video do all the explanation of that. And here it is.
Procrustean was a mythical bandit of Attica who would waylay hapless travelers and attempt to fit them to his iron bed. If you were too long for the bed, he'd cut your feet off. And if you were too short for the bed, he'd stretch you out. Delightful gentleman, huh? Procrustean is not the kind of guy you'd like to have over for dinner to meet mom. And a Procrustean bed has come to mean an arbitrary standard to which something is forced to conform. An arbitrary standard to which something is forced to conform. Have you ever met someone who's completely inflexible? Someone who tries to make things fit, even if they don't? You know the type. They love Robert's Rules of Order. They probably carry it around in their back pockets. They're sticklers for procedures, rules, and regulations. A boss? A coworker? Maybe a family member who, once you've made a plan for the day, refuses to make even a small change? Then you know someone who's Procrustean. Make a personal connection. And please try to follow procedures and not make any sudden changes of plan around this Procrustean person.
Have here Procrustean, tending to produce conformity by arbitrary, ruthless, or violent means. I believe that the way that we're told we're supposed to exist in this society is ruthless, and it is arbitrary, and sometimes it can be violent. I've been subject to those violations of my security, my personal security, whether it's physically, emotionally, or spiritually. It's been compromised by this societal system that's in place. Me growing up for the better part of my life, up until about 10 years ago, thinking that I'm only what I see, thinking that I'm not intelligent because I wasn't following the road of academia, watching all my friends go and have these fantastic experiences in university and college, and ultimately I was always around them, but even still being around these people who are all doing the thing and they're following this model, to me, I didn't fit. I've always been someone who wants to experiment, trial by error, trial by fire. We fail a lot. I fail a lot. I'm always failing. I want to fail. I'm headstrong and I want to try my own way. I can read it. Someone can tell me how to be better and do better things, but I'm a scientist of my life, and I want to be the one to have created the theory of how I believe I'm supposed to get through my day, and then I want to do it and test it out, and if it doesn't work, I'm then able to recalibrate. They didn't want me to be able to carry myself the way that I saw fit in order to learn. They had a better idea, and so that way they took my legs. the way that they beheaded me was by allowing for me to believe that in some way I was insufficient in myself to take a hold of my genius on my own. And I say my genius not in a lofty way, but we all have genius. You are a genius. I'm a genius. We are all genius. We all have genius ready to be tapped into and opened. And I think that my child is a good indicator of that, and all children are. And it's not just reserved for the people who are prodigious at a very specific thing, a phenom. Through finding my own way to learn, my own way to navigate life, I've made a lot of enemies, I've made a lot of friends, more acquaintances, a lot of smiles. It's restored my faith in humanity, and being here and there and seeing how much good there actually is. But that is not the model that we are fed. And that is the end of my thoughts on the Procrustean concept applied to my life. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you're able to see the Procrustean concept in your life, society, or any organization of any type. Let me know. And don't forget to leave a comment, like, subscribe, tell your homies, buy my shirts, sign up for my dog training. One love.